Ministers would have understand. Even when I was a Christian minister, many years ago in the Protestant church, I read this over and over again. I never grabbed me till one day I was in East Garden when Reverend Moon was teaching, and I was sitting right in the front. He was 45 minutes. He was talking to me because somehow in his mind, somehow in his ability, he was able to see I'm struggling with that for 45 minutes. And finally, it dawned on me. Yes, it is. Okay. The father was busy. He had a deadline. He was busy. He was working in his office at home. The boy was running around making a lot of noise. And the father said, well, I need to get my job done, but how do I keep this boy quiet? So he had a big map, wall map. So he cut that wall map into small pieces, and he gave it to this boy, and he said, my son, I want you to put this map together. Like the puzzle, jigsaw puzzle. So the dad went back to work, and he was working, and he thought it's going to take a while, but within 5 minutes, that boy put the map together. He said, Dad, I did it. The father was shocked. He said, how do you do that? Oh, Dad, the back of that wall map, there was a man. So I figured if I put the man together, the world would be okay.
That's cute.
See, that's what Reverend Moon has been teaching. It's a divine principle. With all those great lectures, and we have some great teachers here, the divine principle in a simple word, that's what it is. If you put the human being together, the world will be a better place. Right, Tim? I've been in the church only 4 years, so it took me 45 minutes of Reverend Moon teaching directly, looking at me as teaching. When I was scared because before that there was one Howley brother was sitting here. He walked around and boom, he slapped him. Now I said, oh my God, I never seen anything. My wife was sitting next to me. All I want is to go back because I don't want to get slapped. But then I realized it's a blessing. The guy said, oh, it's a blessing. 45 minutes, all of a sudden it dawned on me, wow, this is what it is. If you change the human being, you change the world. See, that's what it is. And all those meetings and seminars and all those gatherings of ministers and political leaders are not to affect the political process of a certain nation. See, this print here, if you don't get a chance to look at it, so what does it say here? You know what? I'm going to go for that kind of thing. Universal Peace Federation. The purpose of this was that, not to change the governments, not to change the political process, not to change the policies and certain things like that, to be able to change the human being. And that's why Reverend Moon invests so much of time and energy inviting all these world leaders. With extreme cost. I've been to several of those meetings, and I know it costs a lot of money to bring these people from all these countries and put them in a hotel and 3 or 4 or 5 hours together, listening to various teachers and teachers. Why is it doing that? It's because unless you change the human being, you cannot change the world. We can have all the policies, all the political, agendas. The political agendas, if that is true, the United Nations would be one of the most effective organizations in the world. But it is defunct. It is useless. And we see that over and over again, millions and millions of dollars have been invested in this institution. The institution basically does nothing, zero, zip. Because people don't want to change. So number one discovery, Paul discovers, he says, I cannot change myself because we are a fallen race. Once upon a time, we are created in the image of God. We were created so perfect. If we were created and God said was good. And then God said, okay, I want you to grow mature. I want you to grow up. I want you to take responsibility for your life, for your actions. Then I will bring you together and you can marry and have children to have a God-centered family. And to take control of the environment, to control of everything that I have entrusted to you. God gave man his same authority when he created Adam and Eve. And he said, I give you my same absolute ex socio authority in your hands for you to control the universe, control your private affairs. He said, you can have anything you want. What a carte blanche that was. God says, anything you want, you can enjoy it. But here is the boundary. And man said, I don't care what you say, God. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do my way. I'm going to find out my way. I'm not going to follow your direction. I'm going to do my own way. Isn't that the human nature? And so he violates the very thing God says, don't go there. He went there. As a result of this, the entire human race was affected. Ever since, people killing each other, nations killing each other, people bombing each other, in the name of God, in the name of religion, in the name of faith. We see that constantly. And it's not happening just in Africa. It's happening all over the world. People are killing each other in the name of God, in the name of religion. Because man who was surrounded with the glory of God, the man who had constant communication with God, have a fellowship with God, the man who walked with God in the garden, and the man who had given the privileges of being the co-creator, the co-ruler of the universe, he gave up his right by violating the very thing and undermining the very thing that God says don't do it. And as a result of that, there was a separation. Man was separated from God. Curse come upon it, and man ever since is hopeless. He's helpless. And he's trying his best. Said, so number one discovery that I'm a fallen human race. I'm a fallen race. I'm a part of the fallen race. This is not the ideal. And look around the world. What kind of world that we live in, Ron? What kind of world that we live in? A world that is constantly want to kill each other.
Yeah.
A world that is constantly want to kill each other. A world that is empathy, that's careless. Millions of people. I found out that in one of the countries in Africa, Sudan, they have almost 2 million people are displaced from their homes, and 500,000 children were killed because of ethnic clash, because two different ethnic groups couldn't get along each other. It doesn't affect us. It doesn't say, well, so what? See, we would not do that when it affects our own children, because we begin to put action. But it's something happening out there. See, that's the reason why, gosh, I wish I had all the time in the world to get across to you, because the reason why the true parents and they're traveling around the world, why do you think they got nothing else to do? They are growing around the world. Why? Because they have to get across this message that unless we change the human being, the world is never going to change. The problem is the human being. It's not the circumstances, surroundings. They need to be reconnected with God. To restoration, the principle of restoration. You're fallen away, you need to get back where you belong. So number one discovery, that I cannot change myself. I am a part of the fallen race. I need to acknowledge that. Number two, I cannot change myself. That's a great discovery. Working with people, working with people who are child molesters, substance abusers, probably, this may shock you, probably 10% of the people